ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
Elmore deep, left side, brilliant, good! From 30 feet, John Elmore!
The Drive with Paul Swann.
Welcome in. It's the Thursday, May 17th edition. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Coming up this hour, we're going to talk to the CEO for Team Impact, Seth Rosenzweig. Now, Team Impact is a national nonprofit. They connect children facing serious and chronic illnesses with college athletic teams. And they did so yesterday. Calvin Fields, if you haven't heard the story yet, he's a second grade student at Ceredo-Kenova Elementary. He signed yesterday with the Marshall basketball team. It's part of their efforts. We're going to talk to Seth in a few minutes about those efforts, why this was important. And so we'll have that. Also, we'll be joined a little bit later on by Marshall men's golf coach Matt Grobe. He's going to join me later. We're going to recap the season that just wrapped up. Of course, Marshall golf team did not as a team advance, but there still was some bright spots in the season. So Matt's going to join me in a little bit, and we're going to talk about that, and we'll take your phone calls as well. 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. Now, I've got to remind you right now, before I do anything else, that we've got a pretty special auction going on now on our website. All you have to do is go to WRVC.com, and you can click on the link that leads you to the Marcelo Latterman Memorial Scholarship Auction. Now, every year there's a golf tournament, and the golf tournament is pretty special in itself, but the auction helps supplement some of the things that go on with the efforts to put together a pretty nice scholarship in the honor of Marcelo Latterman, who was a kicker. He was on the 1970 plane crash team for Marshall University. So his family, a few years ago, put together this fund, and we try to support that every year. And part of our efforts, the auction that goes on. And again, all you have to do is go to WRVC.com, and this auction is going to go on until the 25th. Now, what can you bid on? Well, there are several things you can bid on that will, of course, go to the scholarship fund. First of all, if you're a fan of the West Virginia Power, you're going to get an opportunity to enjoy a suite for up to 16 people. It's great if you've got a group of people, you want to have an office party, family day, you've got a little league baseball team, you want to put together a little group and have an outing. This is a fantastic prize, and you can enjoy the game from one of their air-conditioned indoor seating and lounge areas. It's located on the Brick Street Insurance Suite level. I've been in those suites. Pretty cool. It's been a fun experience every time I've got a chance to go up and see the Power. So you can bid on that. The value of this is $500. Now, we just started the auction, and I know how auctions work. Everybody's going to sort of case this thing out, put maybe a feeler bid out there, and start bidding towards the last minute. I'd say get your bid in now. Don't wait. So you can bid on this item. And you can also bid on, which I think is a pretty impressive memento. We've got a framed copy of the original letter President Richard Nixon sent to Marshall football coach Jack Lingle. Now, this was before the Young Thundering Herd's first game. Now, you can get this, and also included are two poems written by Bob Compton, who was a member of the 1971 team. The framing and matting is from Stadium Framing, the $100 value, and you can get this on auction day if you're quick enough or smart enough to get your bid in. Also, and I think somebody's going to walk away with a steal here. Whatever the high bid's going to be, this is going to be a steal. We have got a golf trip that you and 3 of your friends can take. You can play golf. Golf carts are included at 3 courses in North Myrtle, plus Diamondback, located in Loris, South Carolina. Also, you get 3 nights lodging at the Sands Ocean Club Resort. And if you want to stick around longer, you can purchase additional nights. Free admission for 2 to 6 popular Myrtle Beach attractions. A $25 gift card to Wild Wings Cafe at Barefoot Landing, plus some thrown in as well. This thing is valued at, you ready for this? $1,100. Somebody's going to walk away with a $1,100 value trip for a fraction of that. It could be you. So you've got your opportunities to bid. Now, the last item, I know some competition's already in place for this, and unfortunately, I'm going to promote it because I'm friends with the competition, your competition. He wants it. I know you want it. We've got a Wilson golf bag. We're going to get a photo up of it soon, and this Wilson Staff Tour golf bag has the Marshall logo to honor the 75 lost in the 1970 plane crash. It's pro quality. $300 value, and this thing might go for a fraction of that. How do you participate and kind of case out some of this stuff? All you have to do, go to our website, wrvc.com. Auction is going on now through the 25th. I'll have the winners on the show, well, at least their names, who won, on the 25th. So I'll announce those winners. You'll find out during the show if you don't check the website. So good luck. Hope you guys participate. It really goes to a great cause. If you are not that familiar with the Latterman family, they're a wonderful group of people. They discovered the memorial ceremony years ago. And when I mean discovered, they knew about it, but they came down. They came down to be a part of it and find out what this was about, just to connect and tell you this. Those guys are so nice, and they're so appreciative of everything. They found, I think, a lot of closure, but at the same time, they found new family and friends here, extended part of the Marshall family. I know the marketing campaign is Herd Family, but they kind of found that, and I really have connected with those guys over the years. I think they're an important part of Marshall, their story, their brother. I mean, they have spent a lot of time with this auction, this golf outing, and their efforts to raise a scholarship fund, which is going to benefit someone at Marshall for years to come. So check it all out. It's wrvc.com. We appreciate you guys doing that. All right, when we come back from break, we're going to get into the guest portion of the show. First up on the program, we're going to talk to Seth Rosenzweig. He is the CEO for Team Impact. We'll talk to him about Team Impact's efforts and also the story of Calvin Fields, who's a second-grade student at Ceredo-Kenova Elementary. He signed yesterday with Marshall basketball, and we appreciate what Team Impact's efforts were in this. So we'll talk to him when we come back. And also we'll hear from Matt Grobe. He joins me later to talk Marshall golf here on The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Thursday edition. I'm your host, Paul Swann, and we were telling you earlier that yesterday, a second-grade student at Ceredo-Kenova Elementary probably got one of his biggest dreams made possible, come true, because he got to sign a letter with Marshall University's basketball team, and that was because of the efforts of Team Impact. And as we mentioned, they are a nonprofit. They're a national organization. They connect children facing serious and chronic illnesses with college athletic teams. And joining us on the program now to tell us more about their efforts and the story of Calvin is their CEO, Seth Rosenzweig. And I hope I pronounced that right, Seth. I hate to botch that the first time we've talked, but this is a really interesting and fascinating story, and thanks for joining us on the program.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about Team Impact. That's the boilerplate I gave everyone as far as what your organization's about, but tell me a little bit more about what you guys do and why Team Impact came to be.
Sure. So Team Impact was started in 2011 by a group of friends from Tufts University who came back together and said, let's try to make a difference for the quality of life for kids living with serious and chronic illness. A lot of them were former college athletes. They said, what if we found kids who are living with serious and chronic illness and really having the social and emotional challenges because of their medical circumstances, and we drafted them as full-fledged members onto college athletic teams to hopefully impact the child in terms of their quality of life, sense of optimism, confidence, and a sense of belonging, help their families through a challenging time to provide them with a support network, but honestly, also try to impact a generation of college athletes in terms of empathy and civic engagement so they leave college wanting to make a difference in the world. In year one, we drafted 17 children on 17 New England teams. In year 7, we're sitting here with over 1,500 kids, about 48 states, 500 colleges, universities, and about 50,000 college athletes with pretty big aspirations to grow the program over the coming years.
Sounds like it's a massive undertaking, and I'm sure you've found everyone you've approached to be so receptive. So I'm sure that makes your job a lot easier.
It's an amazing opportunity to the meeting every day, meeting these gracious kids and the college athletes. So it's a passion project. I wouldn't necessarily call it a job.
So Team Impact had a great chance to impact the life of Calvin Fields, and that happened yesterday at Marshall. He's a second-grade student, attends Ceredo-Kenova Elementary, local school here in our region, and he got an opportunity to sign with Marshall basketball. He's part of your efforts, and if you would, tell me about his story and what made his story special to you to want to do this to maybe help him and impact his life.
So Calvin's a great kid, and it's interesting because his mother actually recently graduated from Marshall, and she's going to be a pharmacist. And the team has been amazing. We contacted, once we were able to hear from Calvin, and Calvin lives with cystic fibrosis. It's actually we work, our number one diagnosis that we work with is cancer, and number 2 is cystic fibrosis. And he has challenges. He can't really play sports. He has trouble with his lung capacity, and he's had a lot of the social and emotional challenges. And the Marshall men's basketball team has been amazing. He goes to practices. He goes to team dinners. He really becomes part of the fabric of the team. And I always tell people, we're not just matching kids. We're not creating mascots, and we're not granting wishes. We're really about creating a relationship experience model. So Calvin will be with the team for a 2-year experience where he'll interact with the team at least once a week and really help him through some of the challenging times. So he leaves the program with the tools and the confidence to be successful despite any limitations because of his medical diagnosis. And so he's been with the team for about 3 or 4 months, and basically every child gets a draft day, and that was what was yesterday where he signed his letter of intent and got his jersey. And so he's a real member of the team, and his teammates have really from the beginning. His mother told me, and she quoted it, basically the team treats him like one of theirs, and they don't treat him any differently. And so he's really become part of that team and help them with some of the things that they're facing as well.
Is that important to you to make sure that this isn't just we bring this kid out for a day, parade him to the media, here's a nice little thing for you, and then never see him again? I mean, is that really the crux of the matter here? You want to make sure that this is really a life-changing experience?
We do. I mean, listen, we have the word impact in our name, so we better be able to live by it. And so we really have our kind of service delivery model is very intentional, where Calvin, we have a game plan for him with the team. We know the areas we want him to work on. He's interacting consistently. And, at the end of the day, after the 2 years, we hope to achieve the goals that we've set forth for him. So I think that, although there's a nice kind of symbolism with yesterday, now the real journey begins where we really kind of intentionally work on some of the challenges that he's facing so that we can help him with a better quality of life.
What are some of your success stories that maybe you can brag about as far as kids who have gone through these type of programs and these initiatives and come out on the other side after this time frame?
So there's 2 quick stories that I'll tell you. One is about a kid named Brady who has Charge syndrome. It's a genetic disorder that causes deformities that can be life-threatening. But for him, he's an 8-year-old boy, and he looks different than his peers. One day he's being bullied, and these boys are running after him. He tries to lock himself in a stall, and the kid kicks down the door and breaks his nose. Goes to the hospital, and we drafted him onto the Merrimack men's soccer team. And he never misses a practice. It's like part of his fabric. And he, the mother found out. She called 3 people. She called her husband to let him know what happened, their doctor, and then the coach. Say, listen, Brady won't be at practice. 3 days later, Brady returns to practice. The team sees him in the parking lot, getting out of his minivan. They jump the fence. They meet him there, and they say, Brady, this will never happen again. The next day, the entire team shows up at his school and holds an all-school assembly, kind of anti-bullying, treat people with kindness, and now he's the king of the school. He has tremendous confidence, and you ask any of those players on that team, and they'll say they've gotten way more out of this program than Brady, and that's just kind of one of the many examples. And the other one I'll just quickly mention is a kid named Larry, born with every major organ outside of his body, never really given a chance to live. He was able to obviously survive birth, but he's had over 110 surgeries. He's homeschooled. He's very isolated. He has no confidence. He hates how his body looks. We drafted him onto the University of Michigan football team. And I went out to the draft day with Coach Harbaugh and the group. And, basically Larry now, if you look at him today, Larry's in the weight room with the team. He sees his body, kind of his, any scars on his body as kind of his battle armor. And it gave Larry a purpose outside of his medical diagnosis to teach these college athletes about grit and perseverance and what a bad day really looks like. So I asked the 14 players last year who went into the NFL from University of Michigan, I said, what was the greatest moment of your last year at Michigan? And I thought they were going to say, we went to the Orange Bowl, we had a great year, et cetera. And they said, listen, for us, it was seeing Larry, who's never run before in his life, run for the first time at the Big House, being announced as part of the team. And so for me, these stories, it's these impact not only on these kids who really get a lot out of it, but these college athletes. And if we do this right, we can change a generation of college athletes, and we can hopefully change the world. So that's just 2 of many of the stories that we have if we do our program right. And listen, our goal is that every child living with a serious or chronic illness that could really use a support structure around them, and every college athlete to be part of our program.
Seth Rosenzweig joins us, CEO for Team Impact. Yesterday at Marshall, a special day for a young man, Ceredo-Kenova Elementary student Calvin Fields, signing with the Thundering Herd. Seth, with these programs you're putting together, it really feels like you're in this for the long haul. What are coaches telling you? It sounds like the players are enjoying this, but what kind of feedback are you getting from the coaches? 'Cause I'm sure when they hear about what you do and the results, they're probably all fighting for an opportunity to do something like this.
It's funny. We have 1,200 teams on a waiting list right now that are looking to be matched with courageous kids that are battling serious or chronic illness. And so for me, like you said, coaches love it because not only do they see their players really being transformed, but frankly, it brings the players closer together. Many coaches have said it's brought our team closer together. We're more aligned in terms of our vision and our strategy. Yes, to win games, but that there's something bigger that life is about. And so coaches, whether it's Division I or whether it's Division III, they really believe in what we're doing, and it's a nice opportunity for their players. And college athletes have a very structured college experience, and this is a way for them to feel like they can give back through their kind of athletic experience and not taking away from any of their free time, et cetera. But what happens is the coaches get, I was at a breakfast and one of the coaches spoke and he got in tears because he said, this has completely changed my life, this has changed my perspective, and I see it through my players. So I think if we do this right, we can create this ripple effect that, we can really change the world. And I think the coaches definitely see that. And frankly, the college athletic administration and then the college administration in general see it because the fact that it really puts a different light on college athletics in terms of, sometimes we hear about the negatives, but this is really a big positive.
Seth, what's it take to run an organization like this? And to follow up that question is, what do you need from other people or the public to maybe keep this going and make sure that this lasts for years to come?
So it sounds so easy, right? Match a child living with serious and chronic illness to a college athletic team. But it's not that easy. The intentionality needed to, and the way we kind of run our program is we have social workers that help kind of, once we find a child, we look for a team that's close to where they live. They vet the teams, they train the teams not just on how to work with Team Impact, but on an individualized intention out, and they manage and monitor each relationship to ensure quality, compliance, and that goals are hit. And so our biggest costs are obviously on the social work kind of case management side of things. So, right now, our biggest need is to find more kids because We have a growing wait list of teams, which we knew would happen. We never wanted to have a child on the waiting list, but ultimately the first step is to find more kids and obviously to continue to diversify our revenue, regionally as we start putting staff on the ground in regions. And so we've just put a staff person on the ground to cover the Mid-Atlantic, including Marshall. And we've already, this in the first quarter of this year, we matched over 100 kids. So if we do this right, we have the right kids for the program, we have the right teams for the program, we have the financial resources to be successful. This thing will grow, and in 5 years, we'll all look back and say we did it.
Do you envision a time where universities are full partners with you? Maybe they've got somebody on campus who maybe their full-time job is to do something like this, because this sounds like it's something that should happen on every campus in America.
So the dream, and I actually just came back from meeting with the NCAA in Indianapolis, and they love what we're doing, is that it's almost part of the sports college experience, that every child on every team would have a team impact child. And I think that that's going to be through some intentional infrastructure where we would look at staffing. Honestly, the best way to do this on campus, and we're launching it this year, is a student-athlete fellowship. And we're working with Northeastern University as our academic partner to train student-athletes. We'll bring them to Boston. We'll do a training with them, and we'll be able to train them to be our ambassadors on campus to execute the program. And frankly, I believe because of the influence college students have, that if we do this right, we can keep the costs down and get a win-win by having college athletes working with our regional directors to execute our program. So we're piloting it this summer. We're going to train about 30 fellows to pilot it, and they'll start executing the program in the fall. And then our goal is by year 5 having 200+ student-athlete fellows that will help us execute this program. I think it's very doable and definitely an exciting opportunity for us.
Seth Rosenzweig joins us, the CEO for Team Impact. Seth, before we let you go, how can people get involved or find out more about what you do and maybe help you out?
So I'd love for everyone to go to www.goteamimpact.org. If you're a family that's interested in this, there's a link to kind of apply as a family. If you're someone who wants to volunteer, you can volunteer. If you want to learn more, all of my contact information is on the website. And if you want to get involved in any way, we'd love to have you. We need as many new people on our roster as possible. So love for you to check out the website and get involved and help us create this movement.
Seth, this sounds like a great thing for kids. I'm on board with you, and I hope you have so much success that this thing becomes national, maybe even international.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's by being on these types of shows that we get our word out there, so I appreciate what you do.
Seth, good luck and congratulations on what sounds to be one of the most worthwhile projects I've heard in a long time.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, and look forward to checking in soon when we've hit our goals.
Thank you, Seth. That is Seth Rosenzweig. He is the CEO for Team Impact, and we're going to come back and talk a little Marshall golf with the head coach of the Thundering Herd, Matt Grobe. He'll tell us on next what really his aspirations are for the future, knowing that, well, the team didn't do so well as far as where he wanted them to be, but there's been some success stories that this team really can build on. So we're going to talk about that when we come back from break. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Now, back to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Well, it's kind of sad to say that golf season is over now for the Marshall Thundering Herd, and the head coach of the Thundering Herd now joins us, one Matt Grobe. And I hate this. This is like the post-mortem show we do where your season's over and it's all wrapped up, but I'm sure you feel still pretty good about everything that happened this season, including getting a little postseason action for Alex Wise.
Yeah, I think for me, the best part about it was Alex deserved to be at the national championship at regionals, and so it was very exciting to get to go with him and watch him play his last 3 rounds for Marshall, and just get to walk down the fairways with just him. And that's what he's worked so hard for. It's what all our kids come in here for. Their goal is, to try to make it to the postseason. And so it was great for Alex. It was great when Nathan did it. Nathan was wonderful to go with, but Nathan, I was only here for that 1 year with him. So I didn't get a chance to watch what Nathan had put in for 4 years, but to watch everything that Alex gave our program and all the effort and the character the kid has, it was wonderful to get to go down there and watch his career end down there in Raleigh.
After watching where he's at now, and I'm sure you feel that there were some things he probably could have done better. Every coach does that, I'm sure. Where is he at as far as the next level? You feel that he's got opportunities ahead of him? How would you break down where he's at now?
Well, he's going to graduate as our all-time stroke leader, and we've had some really good players come through. He's got our lowest season scoring average ever. When we went down there, his ball striking was incredible. The putting is what really let him down, and it was shocking. Since he showed up for 4 years, the one thing I'll tell you about him is he was a wonderful putter. He made more putts than any kid I've ever seen in my career. And we went down there, and he had 103 putts over 3 rounds. And I usually expect him in the 27, 28 range for putts per round. And he had 39 putts that first day. He just really couldn't get on track on the greens, and it seemed like one putt he'd read too much break, and the next putt not enough. His speed really wasn't off. Every putt he hit looked really good. They just didn't drop, and once they start not dropping, I think he got into that feel that it wasn't going to be his week, and unfortunately, he just couldn't get out of it putting-wise.
Is some of that what's in his head, and is some of that also maybe the course itself? Because every course is different. Sometimes they play to the strengths and weaknesses of a golfer.
Yeah, I really feel like he was probably at a bit of a disadvantage down there. I think that, there was probably a handful of kids that had never seen the golf course before, and we were one of them. The regional that we had Duke was in there, and NC State was in there, and Georgia Tech was in there, and Campbell was in there, and Davidson, and all these teams that had played Lonnie Poole several times before, and they kind of had a really good feeling about it. And Alex had one round, because you're not allowed to go down there until the practice round, so he had one round to try to get himself comfortable before 3 rounds of competition, and that's really tough. That's a tough ask to get on a golf course for the first time ever, figure it out in a 4 or 5 hour practice round, and then go compete against other people that have seen it, 20, 30, and for the NC State kids, for 4 years.
Matt Grobe's our guest, Marshall golf coach. So as a coach, are you going to try to diversify even further the courses you see, just to shotgun this? Because you can't be everywhere, but at the same time, I'm sure you want to give these kids the best opportunity possible.
Yeah, we try to find the really, really good venues, really good events that challenge our kids. In the fall, we always get to play our home event, which is awesome. We get to go to Eastern Kentucky's event, which is great. It's just down the road. And then we mix in Pete Dye. And then we go to NCR Club up in Dayton, which is a great golf course. We go down to River Run in Charlotte. We play our conference championship at Texarkana. We go to Pinehurst. So we get a really good variety of golf courses, and I really didn't think it was necessarily much to do with the golf course. I think it was interesting to play bent grass greens in North Carolina. You don't find that very often. They're normally Bermuda. But Alex really likes bent grass, and so I just think it was maybe a comfortability. Maybe that one round wasn't enough. Like I said, ball striking-wise was phenomenal. He hit the driver great. His irons were great. And his wedges around the green were great. We just couldn't get any putts to fall.
Individually, you lose such an outstanding member of your team, and team-wise, where are you at now, and where do you think you're going to be come next season?
It's really going to hurt us. The one great thing about Alex is he has been a leader even when he was a freshman. He stepped on campus, and he's never missed an event for us. He's qualified for every single event that he's been able to play in his college career here, and he has really helped our young team. We've got a very young team coming back next year. Next year, we only have one senior on the team. and the following year we've only got 2 kids. So we've got a very, very young freshman and sophomore driven team, and the best part about it is Alex stepped up and helped each and every single one of those kids. He sends them text messages, but after rounds, he plays practice rounds with them. He works out with them. He's so in with all of our young kids. He's really helped develop a culture. So even though we're losing him, he's really set us up for success for a young team next year to see what it took to get him to where he was. Wonderful year for them to watch him have, and hopefully it's really inspired them and showed them what they got to do to get to the next level.
Matt Grobe's our guest, Marshall golf coach. So you lose your stud, and I'm sure you're really looking high and low for that next kid or those next kids to come in. How important was this NCAA appearance to those efforts, just to make sure that people are aware that good golf happens at Marshall?
Well, there's no doubt about it. It helps to get individuals. Nathan helped a lot, Alex helped a lot, but I'll be honest with you, we've got to start doing a little bit better as a team, and I think that starts with me. I've got to do a little bit better job of trying to get our guys ready to win championships, and I think our mentality has been to try to get every kid better and try to get it to like Alex, where we have an individual go. But we need to go as a team. That was a great atmosphere. I loved going there. I loved going with Nathan, 5 years ago. I loved going with Alex, this year. But it's really neat for those teams. We got to play with a couple of those teams as being part of an individual. So, I think we've got to set a little bit higher team goals, and we've got to start winning some tournaments and get a feel for it, be a little bit more competitive in Conference USA, which is a really good golf conference. But we just got to get better. We very disappointed after this year. You got to think about it. You and I are talking about it. Alex is one of our best we've ever had, and team-wise, we didn't do very good behind him. So I don't think we're ever going to be able to replace Alex next year or the following year. What we've got to do is everybody's got to get better and much better. We can't just get a little bit better. Because not having Alex next year is going to be really tough. So everybody's got to step up and get better. I got to coach better, and the guys got to play better.
Something I talked about, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're in a good spot because this isn't a situation where you've got to have the best facilities in the world like the Alabamas and the other major college football teams or basketball teams that have the fantastic arenas. This isn't a situation where you're going to win this by escalating facilities. You've got some good golf courses, and this is just more of I've got to get the right kids in because, you've got everything they need to be successful here.
Yeah, exactly. We've got everything that a kid could need. We just got to work hard, and we've got. The best part about college golf is, now don't get me wrong, if you look at the national championship and you look at the 30 teams that qualified, the majority of them are going to be Power 5, schools. But there's some individuals, there's some teams that pulled some upsets. You had Liberty at our regional. Liberty went through and upset. They went 14 under the last day and knocked the number 1 seed, Georgia Tech, to the 6th spot. Georgia Tech's not moving on. So it can be done. And so, the main thing for us is we've got to make sure that these kids don't think it's not something that we can do. We can't play we don't have this or we don't have that. It's golf, and the lowest score wins, and we're all playing the same golf course, and there's no officials involved in it. There's no home court and all this stuff. It's just you got to go there and you got to play better golf than everybody else.
Of course, I think it'd be more fun just to have a couple of matches where we put some miniature golf rules out there, windmills. I mean, come on. It would be fun, just maybe exhibition, right?
It would have to definitely be exhibition. I don't know how you could get anybody to sponsor that.
I just always a lot of people's idea of golf sometimes is miniature golf, but definitely it's a team sport, but you go out there and make your own success. I mean, that's a great point. I don't have anyone in my face. No one's guarding me. It's me and the course, and I guess that's a great expression of sport. I can go out there and conquer that. Nobody's going to stop me but me.
That's exactly right. We talk about it a lot with our guys. You know, your goals need to be more based on what you're doing on the golf course, because you can go out there and have a great day and somebody else can just have a better day. Things just kind of went their way. But in the big scheme of things, if you keep getting better every day, you keep worrying about your game every day, and you make sure that you're better than you were the day before, then when it's all said and done, you're going to be at a pretty good place with your golf game.
Matt Grobe's our guest, Marshall golf coach. So what's next for you after your season ends? Maybe if you could, in a nutshell, what's the next step for you? We know what happens when football and spring drills are over and what they have to do. So what's it like for you trying to make sure that the team's ready for next year and getting recruits to come in and everything that goes with that?
Well, this is an exciting time of year for me because our guys are getting better right now. You know, all of our guys have gone home. They got a great summer schedule. They're all practicing. They're all working their tails off and waiting to come back in the fall. So it's a really good situation for me. And then my job, I start next week. I start getting on the road and watching future kids play and trying to find other talent that can come in and start to support this team. So, you know, that's kind of, you know, my role right now is to hit the road and watch a lot of high school golfers and try to find ones that can come in and help us win. And the guys that are on the team right now, they're working their tail off and trying to get better and trying to qualify for their home state amateurs and trying to qualify for U.S. amateurs and U.S. Opens. And they're trying to better themselves so that when they come back in the fall, they're ready to go and help us win.
How big is your recruiting area? I'm sure you're going to say everywhere, but where do you feel like you're the most successful? In-state, out-of-state? Where's that next kid usually come from?
You know, we're really. You kind of look at our bordering states, really. We've got kids on our team from all the way down to Georgia, all the way up to Michigan. I think a lot of times what you're seeing right now with golf kids is they really like to kind of stay in their area. It's the kind of the grasses they're used to. It's kind of the environment. So, you know, we probably the majority of our team is from the East. I really don't look out to the West very much. I've watched a couple kids that were interested, either a mom or a dad went to Marshall, and they're kind of on the radar. But for the most part, a lot of your kids that are in the West stay West, and a lot of kids in the East stay East. We got a lot of Ohio kids, Michigan kid, North Carolina. So, you know, kind of those bordering states, and it's kind of nice for me because I can go into those states and take a look and watch their kids and make a 2-day trip, and then I'm back, and then I go maybe to North Carolina, then to Virginia, then to Pennsylvania, and so really kind of hit up your bordering states quite a bit.
Well, it sounds like you've got everything under control. You're not going to international options like, say, John Mercer for Marshall Tennis does. You're staying in the country at least.
Well, you know, international kids, it's one of those, you know, really in golf, it's almost tough with international kids, and especially with kind of Huntington, West Virginia. I think a lot of your international kids, they want to come over here and they want to get their games ready for the PGA Tour, and that's what they're coming for. And they get that first winter, they get that first snowstorm, and they kind of freak out. That's not what they came here for. And so, you know, I think the international kid really works well at a southern school where it's sunny, you know, year round. In our environment, I think we're better off staying with kids around here that understand that in the winter you got to do this to get your game better, and we're going to play in some cold temperatures and that type of stuff. And so, you know, internationals just haven't really seemed to work so much for us. And not that I'm opposed to it, but, you know, we kind of like the kid that can drive to campus, that can drive home, and, you know, for the holidays and come back and isn't kind of stuck here in the golf world.
Matt Grobe is our guest, Marshall golf coach. It was fun to keep up with this team, especially with the way that the last few days we're going with Alex, and hopefully we're going to have as equal, if not a better season for you coming up here next season. Coach, as always, thanks for joining us. Good luck, and it's been fun. Let's do it again soon.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That is Matt Grobe, Marshall's golf boss. We're going to come back, get your phone calls in. More Drive here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Coming up tonight, you'll have Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Washington Capitals. And, of course, you can catch that on our sister station, Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340. I'm your host, Paul Swann. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Light day today on the sports scene. Do want to congratulate Marshall track and field sophomore Denisha West. She qualified for the 2018 NCAA East Outdoor Track and Field Preliminary Championships. That's going to take place on May 24th through the 26th down in Tampa, Florida. It's a qualifier for the NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships. And that's going to take place in Eugene, Oregon in June. And the top 48 athletes in both the East and West regions, they're going to qualify for the preliminary meets in NCAA. Now, this is the East and West region, each individual track and field event who will qualify. So you've got the East region, 213 women's programs. And here's how you get in. The athlete selections are based on top marks set anytime through the outdoor season. So West, who's a sophomore from Old Westbury, New York, she qualified in the triple jump, set her top mark, also a personal best, back in March, 12.57 meters. That is 41 feet 3 inches. Her mark is the 5th best outdoor personal record in Marshall school history. So congratulations there. Tell you, track and field, this thing's going to explode one day for Marshall. You got the facility, you got the indoor track. Now time to get that outdoor track. That would be, I guess, the ultimate. You could get the indoor and outdoor facilities going. That would really, I think, help everything at Marshall University. So we've got hockey tonight. We've got baseball going on now in Beckley. We'll update you on that tomorrow. Also, before I go, I've got to comment on this. Did you know that HBO's Hard Knocks is going to feature the Cleveland Browns, the Factory of Sadness? We are going to peer inside the Factory of Sadness and see how a quarterback is destroyed. That's my takeaway from this. This is going to be the Baker Mayfield show, and we're going to see firsthand how a Browns organization brings in a quarterback and destroys that quarterback, crushes their dreams, their hopes, basically leaves them, discards them after they're done just wrecking their life. We're going to find out, and I'm going to watch this thing. Usually I'm like, okay, I like Hard Knocks. I'm going to keep an eye on it if a team interests me, but no. I'm going to be all over this thing watching. I want to see how the Cleveland Browns wreck lives. That's going to do it for this edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I want to thank our producer, Gabriel Sellards. And don't forget, you can listen to the program anytime on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio. We're on TuneIn or just wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget, if you like the show, hey, leave us a review, especially on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review. Help us spread the good word. That's going to do it for this edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Good night.
Huntington, W227BS Huntington, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Huntington Sports Station.